The final match of the night. And if you thought this crowd was like exhausted or burnt out, not a chance, because they were so ready for this match with Darby Allin and MJF, title versus hair. And we had this.
That is a real testament, I think, to just the strength of the storytelling and Darby's incredible run as champion. Like, this to me feels like a very legitimate main event that people probably came for a number of matches, but I think they were, like, I will say myself, I was most anticipating this particular match, and it coming off of a stadium stampede and still achieving the reaction that it did. I think like that alone is a major achievement for an AEW main event.
So we had a Teenage Mutant Ninja Darby with his entrance, where he arrived skating through the New York sewer system and into Louis Armstrong Stadium. And this place went nuts for Darby. Like, he feels like he has elevated himself to a level that is like, this guy will be like, this title run has truly cemented him as like a bigger star. Like, I think this title reign is going to be remembered very fondly and for a long time as well.
Yeah. In 1 month, he managed to, I think you could say, achieve one of the greatest AEW title runs, at least just in terms of content, in terms of just like amazing pace. Absolutely.
MJF informs Justin Roberts to announce he is not hailing from any of the 5 bullshit boroughs, and he is from a mansion that none of you can afford. So we start off, as only we can, with multiple side headlock takeover attempts by Darby to try and catch MJF, but he kicks out each time. And then Darby goes for a dive to the floor, and his feet clip the top rope, and he comes down. I've seen this guy take some incredible falls. I literally thought that this guy, like, that this was the one. I thought this was it for this guy. He came down. It was the speed at which he came down, on top of how bad he came down on his head and neck. That was like, if ever there is going to be a match that is called off for Darby, this might be it. But he went another, however lengthy he went after. This was like 2 minutes into the match.
I know.
And I thought this guy was paralyzed.
And the spot was designed to make us concerned. I don't think they intended for it to like be this legitimately like frightening.
Right. Like, he was going to crash and burn, but not like, don't think he had the feet clipping, because he just had no control of this way he was about to land.
There was an element of realism to this fall that just sucked you into the match, much like Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, at 25.
Yes, and this match too would take out a camera operator.
That's right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So MJF takes over, and he is attacking Darby after the dive and hits him with an apron bomb and teases a tombstone off the turnbuckle that Darby avoids and flips into a stunner. And he goes for the coffin drop off the metal post, missing MJF on the edge of the apron. And with that, MJF capitalizes by lifting up Darby and delivering a package pile driver onto the steel steps. Darby then stops a side headlock takeover, low blows MJF behind the referee's back, which they cite as revenge for Mick Foley earlier in the night, who got low blowed, and he uses the side headlock takeover for a 2 count. He works for a Scorpion Deathlock, goes for the coffin drop again, and lands on the knees. And then, almost as though Darby had a point to prove here, of like, all the people who think I just do crazy stunts, they decided, let's just do the most insane 2-minute sequences here, where they just go into all these side headlock takeovers, sunset flips, and then this crazy fish out of water spot with all these 1 counts as Bryce is getting down there and counting, ending with this code red. And when MJF kicks out,
all of this was very much a callback, in my opinion, to their 2021 match, which was like mostly wrestling and great wrestling like this.
Yeah, like, this sequence was awesome, and the whole crowd just applauded at the end of it, as they're both down on the mat selling. Darby hits the tope suicida, and then MJF pulls, when he goes for the tope suicida, MJF pulls one of the camera operators in front of him. So you're literally seeing the dive from the camera operator's point of view as he gets knocked down. they showed this replay, and it was like, it wasn't the most impressive fall that this guy took, but I was glad that they tried this idea of you're literally watching a Darby dive into your living room.
Really great idea to just, I mean, it was very effective in that it really looked like Darby just kind of coming into the camera. I wish they would have vetted the replay better, because the replay did kind of kill the spot, because you could clearly see the cameraman was nowhere near the point of impact. The cameraman rightfully was prioritizing the shot. So Darby was hitting the camera.
Brought up, he's like, he was still getting the shot.
Right, yeah.
And they had to help this poor guy to the back, and they continue. MJF takes Darby up the aisle and puts Darby into the barber's chair and tries to use the razor, but Darby uses a guillotine, putting MJF unconscious on top of the table that's set up at the entrance with the barber tools. And Darby climbs up this scaffold at the entrance, and this was really high up. He's on top here, and he does the bang bang and a coffin drop coming down backwards, and he immediately grabs his head, and the next we see him, he's busted from the back of his head, which looked to be just hard way blood that he got here. I don't think Darby was trying to outsmart the commission on this night.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either, but I think you always have to throw the butt in there, because you couldn't see him for an amount of time, and it directly played into the finish. He kept holding his head, kept checking on his head.
It is possible. And it's if there is a place where you are going to, if you get busted open accidentally, there's no helping that. Mm-hmm. So it's all in what your defense would be for a situation like this. So I'm with you. It was convenient as well. That said, I don't think it needed the blood. I think you could have done the exact same story, because they had already introduced this with Darby passing out and he's hurt. But the blood, I guess it does tell that story.
The blood really helped specifically target the point of impact, I suppose, on the head, and maybe made that headlock takeover that much more effective.
Well, it is possible. If the Post Wrestling Cafe were to undergo a drug test in the month of May, we would be testing positive, because we are overloaded with content. We are going to be reviewing Hulk Hogan, Real American, all 4 episodes this month. Plus, we will go inside the Manosphere with a review of the latest Louis Theroux documentary. We will also have coverage of the Ronda Rousey-Gina Carano fight, also taking place on Netflix. Rewind Away tackles WCW Super Brawl 2, and we cover NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from 2015. All that, plus all of the XL editions on a weekly basis, Collision Course, Daredevil Born Again, and so much more. It can all be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com. $8 gets you in the door. He is brought back into the ring, and he hits another coffin drop, but MJF kicks out. So Darby puts him in a scorpion deathlock, but he can't hold on. He collapses and has to release the hold, and MJF goes for the headlock takeover, but Darby stops it and hits a scorpion death drop. He's back to his feet. He powers up, and the crowd thinks Darby's going to pull it off, and he climbs to the top. MJF knocks him off balance and hits the tombstone off the turnbuckle, and then the side headlock takeover to pin Darby, and wins the match in 23 minutes and 10 seconds as he wins the title for the 3rd time. And Darby gets placed onto a stretcher. Let's talk about the post-match after. Let's talk about the match first.
Sure. Yeah. I thought this match was amazing. On a show this
These two had nearly perfect chemistry together.
God.
It's they are just perfect opponents for one another. And yeah, this was a really excellent match that it had this great story. I kind of like that this is the way the Darby title reign ends, where it's not to be morbid, but it's when this superstar passes away young, that it's just this legendary thing. That's what this title run is. It ended after 5 weeks, and these 5 weeks are going to be remembered as the most insane, crazy title reign of all time. That is going to be Darby's legacy with this title, that it's instead of letting this go on for 2 or 3 months.
Very possibly. More importantly, Darby, I think, had built so much love from the audience for him, that this particular moment of Max taking the belt off of him gave a huge amount of like, it elevated Max to beat Darby in this way. And to be able to
They
achieve
were
that
genuinely like sad to see this guy lose the title, which is not an emotion you get too often for a champion losing. It can happen, but it's rare.
Not to mention the fact that they teased the head shaving so hard that, you know, you got the heartbreak of Darby Allin losing the match, but you also have the heartbreak of not being able to see him get his head shaved bald. So this was like, you know, doubly heartbreaking, like for people that are supporting the babyface. But just even the match alone, it delivered so high on action and creativity. You had your Darby Allin stunt show, starting with that incredible tope at the beginning that probably looked looked even worse than they were intending it to look. But of course, like, brought you into the match that much more. That dive into the cameraman, that crazy dive off the scaffold. And again, very fascinated by the use of blood here, if it was intentional or if it was not intentional. Maybe someday we will find out. But everything was fantastic. But
Well, Darby has asked. I'm sure it was accidental.
Yeah, that's right. Someday in the book of Darby Allin, you know, we will
I got
get
him.
the
It
answer.
was like Brett at WrestleMania 8.
Exactly. But my favorite sequence might have been right in the middle with the series of near falls, perfectly executed. Just like that perfect reminder that behind all the gimmickry, all the blood, all this other stuff are two amazing technical wrestlers, you know? So I think more than anything, like I'm so impressed by this because to me, it shows the maturity of AEW as a company and that you could have two of your original pillars now be able to like be mature enough to be able to legitimately sell out the house and deliver a main event that I think actually, in my opinion, topped this incredibly stacked card. Both in
Do you remember 2 years
anticipation.
ago they did the Four Pillars match,
Yep.
and that was like a big thing that it did not headline the show. And this year, like there was no question what was like the drawing match and the match that was going to close the show. Not a debate at all.
Yeah, yeah. For me, this was my match of the night. But of course, that
I wouldn't argue. Like
that
it's,
is open to plenty of debate from people that I'm seeing in the chat room who also feel like, you know, Swerve and Bandito might deserve that honor. Some people felt Takeshi and Okada. Others may have felt
the tag
maybe
match,
the tag match, or even Joe and Ospreay. Like you have a number of really really high level candidates for this particular show, which was incredible.
Yeah, I really love this main event. Like it might have been mine as well. I really love that I Quit match. Takeshi. I would say that the first two matches of the show and this main event, I thought those three were my contenders for match of the night. I'd put maybe Swerve and Bandito right below that, but it's like, man,
And what are you leaving out here? Stadium Stampede. You know,
I'm not even mentioning Ospreay Joe among
Mox
those.
and Kyle O'Reilly. Are you including in that?
I'm putting that like alongside like Swerve and Bandito. Like quite frankly, folks, this was literally one of the best AEW shows of all time. I won't go so far as to say the best, but if you wanted to make that argument, you could for this show. Like from all aspects, like yes, you got the great show quality, you got several big angles on the show, some big consequential outcomes. It was a show that like they sold out, like business wise. This is going to be a show that you look back on at the end of the year as I think one of AEW's bigger success stories of the year is going to be this show, and drawing on top with a stipulation match that really has elevated Darby and it catapults MJF now into this next title reign. Like this was a home run show in many respects.
Yeah, or maybe a grand slam. What's another tennis analogy?
Well, people loved this show.
Okay, very good.
So Darby is put on a stretcher, and MJF just poses over top of him on the stretcher,
like he posed over Hangman.
Yeah, exactly. The same with Hangman as well. Great visual here. And as he holds the belt, out comes Kevin Knight chasing MJF away, and they're pointing out how Kevin Knight's the last guy to beat MJF. And as they're wheeling out Darby Allin, Kevin Knight, he's fixed on the turnbuckle, and he jumps, and the crowd realizes it right before he jumps. It's like, oh my God, he's going to turn, and he does the UFO splash onto Darby on the stretcher. And dude, he took a lot of punishment over this last half hour. And then it's like your arms are tied in as you have to take the splash. And then it was just the exclamation point. This stretcher tipped over with Darby strapped in. It was just like the last gasp of life evaporating from this man's body. And the whole place, they just boo Kevin Knight. MJF is clapping. And yeah, you've got Kevin Knight doing the big turn. And I cannot wait for his pep talk with Speedball on Wednesday.
I mean, to give Kevin Knight this moment, this big show closing moment, I mean, is again like a huge, like it escalates him to. I mean, I guess the idea is Darby versus Kevin Knight for a TNT level thing, but I mean, this feels like it's like a world title level thing because it's closing your world title.
I'd hold this
program
off. Like I wouldn't want to blow this one away. Like I think this guy should do Speedball. If anything, like, to really emphasize this win by MJF and playing off like what he did to Hangman, like I think Darby should disappear for a little bit and then he comes back, and like I'd hold off this Kevin Knight thing till like All In.
Yeah, if that's the case, so this was great. Okay, there's no arguing like the value and the spotlight that you're giving Kevin Knight here. I guess in my mind, I was hoping for the turn to take place like with Speedball. I think that would have like, you know, been that much more emphatic and you know, would feel a bit more understandable. Here, I guess the explanation is that Knight, of course, like asked Darby and told Darby to win it for them, and Darby failed. But it doesn't make complete logical sense to me that his immediate reaction would be to attack Darby Allin while on a gurney, like viciously like this. But of course, that could be explained via promo, which I look forward to on Wednesday.
Yeah, like he has the win over MJF. This is actually great for him. He should be getting an automatic shot. Like he beat the guy, and now he's the champion. This is great news. So
we'll see what he says on Wednesday, of course.
Yeah, thumbs up.
15 thumbs up. Yes.
Yeah, this was a fantastic show that AEW put on.
It will be a contender for match of the year.
It's definitely my front runner after tonight. Yeah, just a terrific show from AEW.